Hello, everyone. It's me, Madam Pamita, and we're doing another wonderful episode of Meet My Familiar today. I want to let you guys know that I am also adjacent to the Palisades fire. We are not in an evacuation zone, but an evacuation warning zone, which means we have to be prepared in case they tell us to get out of here. But so far, that hasn't happened. That's been on since last night, about 8 p.m. last night. So if I have to cut the interview short, we'll do a redo, Elliot, if we have to. So my guest today is Elliot Adam, author, tarot reader, really a tarot leader, and a wonderful friend. I mean, Elliot and I are like, we met and it was just like we clicked so beautifully. And I'm so grateful for him being here today. So I don't have your bio, Elliot. We're going to wing it because the computer's in the other room where I normally read off your bio. It's all in the other room when we're watching the news. We have to keep apprised of the news just so we're safe and everything. So let's bring you in here. Um, so I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna say your bio, or you're gonna say your bio, or one of us is gonna do. There you are.
Hi, Madam Pamita. I am so concerned about you in California right now. How are you doing?
Well, we are doing okay because we're all here and we're all like, that's the most important
Yes,
thing is that everybody's safe. I
yes.
really feel like and it's been unbelievable. Like my partner has a house in the middle of where the Palisades fire. He has a house in the Palisades. So
Oh,
yesterday I was like, get over here, just bring the minimum stuff. It's just stuff. Come on over. And
yes.
so he's here, he's safe, but we're worried about his home. We don't know, but it doesn't look
Oh,
very good for his home.
oh
And
dear.
yeah, but it's been wild and crazy, and weather and nature is wild and crazy because it has been like this hot, dry hurricane, almost
Yeah,
like here.
yeah.
These gusts they're shaking the house last night. It was kind of wild and crazy. And then today, I mean, speaking of animal familiars, I took a little video. I might post it later. I had about, I want to say maybe 100 crows show up in front of my house. So all these wild animals, we have to think about the wild animals that are also, may have lost their trees, so I went out and I fed them some peanuts and gave them a treat. And now I'm going to have a flock of crows that are going to be
Well,
my
good.
own.
They're for protection too, so that's good. And I'm wishing magical protection on you and your partner's home, and I just hope you are all safe. I'm
Yeah.
doing every prayer to every God I know to
Yeah.
bring some water there or protection.
Yeah.
Goodness,
It's just a wild thing that's happening, and it really is like a natural disaster. You can't blame anyone.
no,
It's nature. I mean, but we definitely, need to pay attention to climate change. And these are, we're
yes,
seeing these extreme weather events because of climate change. And so we have to address that and take ownership of our climate. And I feel like that's super important. Every time I see one of these devastating hurricanes or floods and things like that, I'm always like, we must do something about taking care of our climate and demanding that our leaders
yes,
take care of the climate. But
yes,
I am so okay. I know we're going to have like
yeah. I
talk about animals, but I
know,
also
I
want to
know.
find out you're in England right
Yes,
now. You're in Bath right
yes.
now. And when I know the last time we were together in person, well, first of all, let's talk about you and your writing. So tell everybody all of the books that you have written, your amazing books. So if
Oh,
there's anything also on the coming up in the works too, anything about that.
oh, you bet. Well, I'm Elliot Adam, and I'm the author of the best-selling Fearless Tarot, which takes an empowering approach to tarot. It takes the fear out of it. Because when I was growing up as a tarot reader, a lot of times I'd look at the little white book, and if I got the Ten of Swords as the outcome, I would say, "Oh, the little white book says death, ruin, destruction, and despair. What the hell am I supposed to do with that?
Yeah.
It just made me feel hopeless and horrible." So my book is taking a card like that and not sugarcoating it, but looking at it as a symbol. And then really asking yourself, well, what is this symbol identifying? What is it that needs to end in my life? What is it that I'm resisting?
Yeah.
So Fearless Tarot kind of guides you through all the cards in a more empowering way. I also just recently wrote Tarot in Love, which has all to do with relationship readings. And this next year, I'm going to be coming out with a tarot deck based on Greek mythology. I've been drawing for the last 25 years. And so I finished the art, and now I'm writing the accompanied workbook to it right now as we speak. So hopefully that'll be on the shelves before the end of the year.
Gosh, first of all, I mean, writing a book is amazing, right? It's
Oh,
so
well,
much work.
you've
Yeah.
you've written
But
some gems yourself, my
yeah,
dear. Yes.
but I think people, are don't understand that process, how much labor goes into writing a book. Like if we
Oh,
were paid by the hour for our books, even if our book is a bestseller, we probably get
every
$1 an
day.
hour,
Oh, I
you
know.
know?
It's we don't do it for the money, that's for
No,
sure.
that's for
We do it
sure.
for the love of it. And
Yeah.
but it's an
Yeah.
honor. It's an honor to have a published book. I mean, I never
Isn't
would have even
it?
thought I'd be an author.
Oh
It's
my
just
gosh.
crazy how things happen like that.
But I also want to say that as hard as a book is to write, creating a deck and creating the artwork for a
Mm.
deck is probably 1,000 times more hard. I
Well,
think hard,
it's
hard.
and if you're picky like me and hate everything you do and then have to redo it and redo it, I've probably redone this deck in the last 25 years about 10 times, from start to finish. So it's finally nice to have closure and completion and just say, okay, I'm done with it. And I'm not going to pick at any more cards. I'm not going to redraw anything. It's
Yeah.
out there. So
You could
hopefully
sell
as it goes.
those 10 versions as these handmade
I
decks. I mean, sell them one by one, right?
Oh my God, I would not even let them see the light of day right now. I mean, you look back because, the more you do something, the better your art gets.
Yeah.
And then you look back at what you might have done 15 years ago and you're like, oh my God, was I really drawing like that? My goodness.
Well,
But it's a
I'll
journey.
say something, and I'll say something because I was an illustrator and an artist back in my 20s, and then I had kids, and then I decided, or I guess up until my early 30s, I had kids in my early 30s, and then I was like, oh, I can't do this because it takes so much,
Yeah.
to have a kid and do that was too hard. But
Oh,
I used to go like, oh, about my old art, but I looked back through my old portfolio, and I was like, these aren't half bad. So hang on to those old sketches
yes.
and those old drawings because one
Yes.
day you might find them charming or they're going to, don't destroy your art, or anything like that. So I hope
Yes,
you hold
I
on to them
didn't
because you,
destroy it. I actually laminated it and I put
yeah,
it in an attic somewhere. So
good.
it's stored away. But yeah, it's
Time
interesting to
capsule
see
for
your.
later.
It's true, and you get to see how your ideas develop over the
Yeah.
years, which is really fascinating too. So yeah,
Oh my
so
gosh.
that's what I've been up
Well,
to.
yeah. So, and you had a big move. You and your husband moved to Bath, which is
Yes,
amazing.
yes, it's
And how
beautiful.
have you been loving it and loving England
Oh
as
my
well?
God. I love England so much and just the ability to travel around Europe. So we went to Scotland recently. I just got back from Venice this last week and that was beautiful. And it's cheap flights. It's like $90 to just get on a plane and go
Yeah.
somewhere. So
Yeah.
I'm totally taking advantage
Oh,
of it while I'm here.
so good, so
Yes,
good. So let's get on our topic. We're talking about
yes,
Meet My Familiar. So I want to hear about your familiar, your experience with animals and in your tarot practice and your magic practice. Tell me a little bit
you
about your
bet.
special animals.
Well, your other guests, I was watching your episodes with rapt attention. I thought they were fascinating interviews, and it was just so cool to hear from all these magical people. But my animal's a little different than the ones I've been hearing because a lot of people are talking about their pets
Yeah.
or an animal that's with them every day. Whereas my spirit animal is an owl. And I don't obviously have a pet owl, but when I was a little kid, I used to just draw owls all the time. I'd just be drawing them like at 4 years old, 5 years old. Any show I watched, I loved the owl on Winnie the Pooh. I love the owl. I love the owl on Mr. Rogers, all of that. And so I just always felt this connection to the owl. And I was raised in a very fundamentalist Christian, sort of oppressive religious background. And so I would go to the, library to, escape from it and retreat. And while I was in the library, I would always take out this book. I found a copy of it years later, but it was a Greek mythology book. And, they had these beautiful illustrations that I just loved. But I turned the page and then I saw this goddess, and on her shoulder was this owl. And I thought, who is that? And I learned that that was Athena, the goddess of wisdom. And as soon as I saw that owl on this goddess's shoulder in this picture when I was probably 6 years old, I knew that was my goddess. And I felt like, wow, I wish that goddess was real, like the mean god in my uncle's church, because she's so cool and she's got my owl there. I mean, the owl's with her. So it just felt like it was so cool. And all through my life, I've just had encounters with owls. So if I go walking in the woods, while I lived in Iowa, there would be these barred owls that would come out of the woods, and I'd be really attracted to those. And then I moved to Milwaukee, and there are these great horned owls. Then today, I even picked a little spell card before I got on with you, and it was the owl on it. And the spell says, on a Wednesday in the waxing moon, let wisdom come and be renewed. And it's a Wednesday with the waxing
My
moon.
gosh.
So I'm like, there goes that owl stuff again. So yeah, it's always been the owl. And it's what really kind of led me to my fascination with Greek mythology and all the myths and all the
Oh my
stories.
gosh. Well, first of all, I love that a wild animal is your familiar because
Mm,
I have a whole section in my book and
I
I talk
can't
about
wait to
owls.
read it.
I know.
Oh, I can't
I'm going to
wait
get
to
you a
read it.
copy.
No,
Um,
I got mine
oh
pre-ordered.
my
I'm waiting
gosh.
already with rapt attention. Everyone pre-order this book. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot
Hi,
to. I've talked
Honorata.
about the fire. I forgot to. Hi, Honoreo. Oh my gosh, you guys are so cute, and everyone's saying Tanya Andrushko is saying owl and Galadriel face saying owl from Pooh Bear. It's
Yes.
so sweet, so sweet.
Yeah.
But I was, I do have a whole chapter on. First of all, I have a whole chapter on wild animals, and I address how to work with wild animals in your magical practice. And then in the bird section, I have a little section in there about owls and spells with owls and how amazing owls are. This is one of the things that when I was writing this book, every animal that I was researching that I didn't really have like a real deep understanding of, I fell in love with. And
Oh,
owls, owls are already amazing, but the more I learned about like their physiology, why their heads turn around, their eyes are like cylinders.
yes.
They're not globes. And
Yes.
so they cannot roll their eyes to look around
No.
like we can. So they have to turn their heads all the different directions. And that is such a fascinating thing. And so what does that mean if you are allied with an owl, if you're allied with owl as this very special familiar, what does that mean for you? It's like opening up your eyes to things and seeing things or
Mm-hmm.
seeing things in different ways because owls see
Mm.
things in different ways and being silent. I mean, there's so many characteristics of the owl that are so special. So you not having a pet and having this wild familiar is a great thing because we had lots of people with pets and pets are amazing because we get to
Yes.
be intimate with them.
Yes.
But I say that when we work with a wild familiar, these encounters are like such
Mm.
condensed energy. Just one
Yes.
moment of being in the presence of an owl might have the contain all of that magical energy of a week with a pet, right? So
Amen. Oh my
yeah.
God, you are speaking my language. Like when I see an owl in the woods, I know that's the goddess. And you think about ancient cultures and how they would paint animals on the cave walls. I mean, that's their first deities. It's their first way to commune with something sacred.
Yeah.
So, absolutely, you are correct. Like if you see an owl somewhere, that's important. In fact, the night I moved to Bath in England here, that night, an owl screamed outside our window, and it was the local owl, and I ran outside and I wanted to see it, but it was so dark, it's pitch dark, I couldn't, but it would go whoa 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 whoa, and I was like, that's the welcome. So yeah, you're right,
Yeah.
it's transcendent and sacred when you get to see that wild familiar out in nature for sure.
Well, I think a familiar magic is not what we think we see or is spoken about in the hammer of the witches. The hammer of witches is like a book that was a propaganda book against witchcraft and against magic and against women and again empowerment and all of these things. So when we use that as our our you know model for what a familiar with is, I think, oh, you're missing the boat, because really what I see as the familiar relationship goes back to prehistoric times
Mm.
when people were communing with animals.
Yes.
And so then when we moved up into medieval times, in a time that the Bible said you will have dominion over all animals, and yes, we have a bear baiting show over here, and yes, treat
Mm.
your farm animals terribly, it doesn't matter because they don't have any sense or feeling, they don't have any physical feeling, so if you abuse them it doesn't matter. I mean, this
Mm.
was the thought at the time.
Yeah.
When you had somebody that actually cared for an animal, spoke to their animal, um, was communing with wild animals, that was seen as you were breaking all the rules, right?
Yeah.
But that is the older relationship to animals, and that's
Yes.
how I see that familiar relationship, is that you're communing with, and the oldest version is communing with wild animals, because animals did not get domesticated until
Yeah.
much later in human history. We only have like 10,000 years of the dog being really the first domesticated
Yeah.
animal per se. So, and some animals have never been domesticated. So this older relationship is so important. By the way, I want to go back to
Yes.
something you said. Did we talk about how I had a mythology book when I was 7 years old?
No. No.
I
No. No.
think we
No.
heard the same person. Elliot was the same person. I was 7 years old and I had a different mythology book. And I remember opening up this book, reading this book, and I go, why can't I believe this?
Yes.
That's exactly
That's what I said.
I'm
That's so
like,
crazy.
dang
This
it.
is why you and me are kismet. I
I
mean,
know.
since I met you, I was just like, Madam Pamita, you're fantastic. You're
We,
just a twin soul.
I know we are in the same soul group, 100%. There's something we've lived lives together,
Oh,
kid.
I
I know
know it.
it.
I know it. I know it. God, chasing the Hada Baba Yaga in the woods,
Yeah.
I'm sure. Yes.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, when you talk about now, you are experiencing owl as the owl, like it really, we talk about these things, they are a cooperative thing. So you cannot force an owl or
Mm-mm.
any animal to lend energy to your magic. But have you worked with owl to lend energy to your divination practice or your spiritual practice in any way?
Absolutely. Especially with divination, I think owl is a really powerful familiar because it sees in the dark. It sees what other people are afraid to see. And there's a lot of superstitions in ancient cultures or not even ancient cultures, even more recent ones,
Yeah.
but ancient ones too, where there was fear of the owl because it's a night bird, because you can't see it come. It's got silent feathers. There are some indigenous tribes that call the owl feathers deceiver feathers because it can fly without you hearing it. And so there's a danger to that. So there's always been a little bit of suspicion around it. And I find that that's been my experience as a person who does divination too for a career. There's a lot of suspicion around that. And there's a fear people have of you being able to see something that other people don't see. And the owl sees through the dark. It's able to see, and I love what you mentioned about it not being able to move its eyes, but that it's kind of has these, fixed. Uh, that's how I walk through life. When I'm at a supermarket, I don't look around me like this. I look straight ahead at what I'm getting and I block the world out because I'm too sensitive to it. If I pay attention to all of it, I'm absorbing it all and I get anxious and all of that. So I'm just beelining it to the milk and, checking out as soon as I can.
Yeah.
But yeah, meditations, owls come to me, or if I'm doing a ritual or doing some sort of an astral travel or something like that, the owl's always there, or there's always an encounter with an owl somehow. But I don't want to make it sound like it's just owl, owl, owl all the time for me. Different animals come at different times in my life, I've found. The owl's a constant, but I also would go through periods of my childhood where the cheetah was really like I was obsessed
Mm.
with cheetahs, or later in life, I would be visited by blue heron all the time, and I'd be at the river, and they would just, float right next to me, stand right next to me. So it's interesting when you're in nature and you commune with it. Different familiars will show up at different times, teaching you different lessons that you might need at that moment.
Yeah. I feel like, that is for, probably you have, I'm going to guess you have this experience, so correct me if I'm wrong, but somehow having they're special encounters.
Hmm.
And whether you like work with that in terms of very focused magic or your work, or it just fills up your spiritual cup. To me, my army of crows outside, which was the most delightful thing,
Yeah.
is like we're really stressed, we're really worried, we're having this like devastating natural disaster
Yeah.
happening, and we're still in the middle of it and we don't know. But to see that, it was like this such a joyful
Yeah.
moment that was like, when you
Nature's
need it.
bearing witness to
Yeah,
what your spirit's going through. And
yeah,
the crow and all its magical symbolism and its history and its, centuries of folklore come along with it when it's encountering you. And it's speaking right to your subconscious, right to your unconscious self, that you're being watched and that you're going to be okay somehow through this transformation,
yeah.
through this transition.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can learn a lot from wild animals, especially birds, especially because
Yes.
that concept that a bird might have a nest temporarily, but they don't have attachment to things. They just figure it out as they go,
Yes.
and they thrive and survive. And crows are real survivors and
Oh,
thrivers.
yeah.
But I also think like crows are shady bitches, and I kind of love them for that because again, like in my research, I knew crows were super smart. Like that I already knew. But when you look at corvids, crows, crows and ravens and all of the corvid
Yeah.
family, they're very, very rationally smart
Yes.
and can figure out problems, but they
Yes.
also remember who was nice to them and who was mean to them. So
Hmm.
that's why I'm like, I'm gonna be nice to you guys because I
Yeah,
want to be
here's
your
some
friend.
friends. That's
And I want,
smart.
yeah. So I think that's so. I mean, every animal has these amazing. I mean, if you are attracted to an animal like a cheetah or like an owl or any animal, it's so. I recommend it in my book. I say watch documentaries or
Yes.
videos or about these animals because you will be blown away by their special gifts. And when you
Yes.
find out the special gifts, that is an energy you can also tap into. They can lend that energy to you. And so I think about those owl encounters you're having as being an opportunity for you to have like get a little juice in your insight or your
Mm.
wisdom. And I mean, when you think about wisdom, it's like sharing when you're doing a reading for someone,
Hmm.
you're sharing wisdom with them, hopefully to guide them on a path that's going to bring them fulfillment. Or
Yeah.
when you're
Through the
writing.
dark.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, I think it's so magical to just pay attention, especially to birds, because they're that intercessor symbolically between the earth plane and the higher planes, and they always have a little sign or a signal or a little omen for you. And when you look up the meaning of the bird, look it up in Madame Pamita's book or other resources online. You can even look up the symbolism if you're seeing crows or if
Yeah.
you're seeing a hawk or you're seeing that. That's telling you something. That's a sign. And the universe is always in dialogue with us. It's just that sometimes we're so fixated on what's in front of our nose, we're not in that inner play.
Yeah. I mean, I have on at the Parlor of Wonders website, we have a blog on there and we have a special blog that's an encyclopedia of animal magic and
Oh,
we are
perfect.
constantly adding to it. And we write about like what does this mean if this is your familiar? What does it mean if it's sending you a message? Because there are those animals that come into our life just for a certain period of time. They may not be on our journey for our entire life, but they're lending us energy when we need it in that time period,
Mm,
for
yeah.
example. So, yeah, so you can go to Parlor of Wonders and go to learn and then check out the animal familiar or animal encyclopedia of magical animals. I don't know what something called something like that, but yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Well,
absolutely.
I'm
Yeah. And then the
definitely going
book,
to
of
check
course,
that out.
too. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
um, another animal's been coming up to me recently. So I just got back from Greece too in October. And
So glad
before I
you
went,
went to Greece. Oh my
oh,
God, so glad.
no, I love it. And I got to see my old friends in Delphi where the first oracle was. And I have a whole history with that place, which I absolutely adore. But before I went, I bought this little ring. I don't know if you can see it, but it's an Ouroboros, with a snake biting its tail. So I was just
Yeah,
wearing that there. And I ran into an old friend there, and he gifted me a tarot deck. He has a little shop in Greece. And then on the card backs was exactly what my ring has. And then just recently, I got a book while I was in the UK Tarot Conference as a gift, and it was the Soul Alchemy Journal. But there's that Ouroboros again, and so now it's the snake
yeah,
seems to be coming up in the last several months. So or the snake biting its tail. I don't know, but
yeah.
that it's just so crazy because I guess I am shedding a skin of the past, and I am kind of like accessing that serpent wisdom or whatever. But it's part of the fun is puzzling out like what is this telling me? Why am I encountering this symbol so much right now?
Well, I think one of the things about snake that's really it's talked about in Slavic magic, which Slavic magic is really mingled with Greek magic as
Yes,
well. And
yes.
when because they're Greek and Slavic people encountered each other very early on in antiquity, and
Hmm.
so that there would be a lot of sharing of information. But one of the things that I think is also in Greek. See, I'm not like super conversant with Greek, magic and Greek mythology as you are, but one of the things we see in Slavic magic is the snake is a representative of the lower world, right? Of the underworld and the
Mm-hmm.
lower world because they
Mm-hmm.
come out of the ground, right? They
Yes,
come out of a hole in the
yes.
ground. And I think that I might be mistaken, but it might be at Delphi or it might be somewhere else where there was or it might even be Celtic. God, I don't know. There's a cave where the snakes would come out of the cracks, and so they believed that the snakes came out from the underworld through this cave because the snakes were living in these little cracks and crevices and things like that. So this
Yeah,
idea, the snake coming from the lower world with messages from the lower world and the underworld is it's got something for you maybe there, you know?
absolutely. Well, even Delphi, it was called Pytho in the ancient
Oh
world
yeah,
because
yeah.
there was believed to be a big python that lived there and guarded the sacred shrine. And Apollo slays it, and then he becomes Apollo of Delphi, the oracle god. And he names the Pythia after Pytho, the python. So, the priestess is the Pythia. So, yeah, there's a whole snake serpent energy there. And then even Athena, she's got her little owl, but she also had a little aegis, a breastplate with little writhing snakes on it. So there's little connections to her. But God, I mean, snakes are all over Greek mythology and magic and healing and all of that, Asclepius, all that stuff.
I also think about the Minoan snake goddess in Crete and how those,
Oh yeah.
those, which we don't know what they were doing. They were holding snakes. Maybe they were snakes, but there's this belief that those statues show these women, perhaps priestesses or perhaps goddesses, holding these
Yes.
snakes. And so
Yes.
there's that as well. I have this very deep feeling that I lived a life in Crete because since I was a kid, I've been fascinated with
I can
um,
see it. I can see it. Absolutely.
Crete.
I have a gift for past lives. And sometimes if I just get to hang out with people for a little while, like my old oboe teacher, I remember hanging out with him and thinking, God, you lived in the 1700s for
Yeah.
sure. And probably in France or something like that. But I could totally see Crete with you,
Yeah.
aside from some of that Slavic stuff too.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I feel like there's some things, I feel like one of the signs of a past life is when you're at a very young age that does not match what you like you're interested in something that kids that age are not interested in. Like you and I interested in Greek mythology. I
Hmm.
also was interested in medieval and stained glass. So I got like I had a past life as a stained glass maker. Like you just and then somehow you just sort of your intuition, you know it.
Yes.
I don't have to defend it to
Nope.
anyone. I don't have to like, but you know it. And when you have worked with your intuition as most good diviners have, you know that feeling when it's like it's clicking. Something's
Yes.
telling you something is clicking. And of course you can do that for yourself as well. So that is a wonderful thing that you have, like that gift that you have. You just know, right? There's just
Well,
something,
you know
yeah,
too. Yeah, well,
yeah,
and
exactly.
it's easy for ourselves, absolutely. But even when you travel and you go to a place and you're just like, oh my God, I got chills because this
Yeah.
is something so familiar. So yeah, absolutely.
So amazing. Well, I'm going to get back to watching all the
Yes, you
fires.
should. You should be vigilant and keep your eyes
Yes.
peeled. And what is it there, about 1 o'clock or uh
12:30. It's 12:30 here.
12:30?
So
Okay, gosh.
I am like that Girl Scout training has come into
Good,
effect. You know, as
good.
soon as they put an evacuation warning on us, I'm like, okay, taking my musical instruments to my sister's house, which is like 3 miles away, further away, taking my
Yes,
family photos to my sister's house. Okay, now we're at home,
yes,
packing up all our stuff, mementos, clothes, paperwork,
yes,
passport, got all that stuff, hose down the roof. I mean, I'm doing all
yes.
the things until 11 o'clock last night, but we've been really on top of it and really keeping tabs on it. So tell everybody where they can get your new deck, where they can get your books again, and so all of those things and anything else you have coming up that you'd like to let everyone know about.
Oh, well, you can always just get my books online wherever books are sold. And I really do like when people support smaller local businesses. I mean, you can find my books on Amazon, but if you can go to a little metaphysical shop and even request it or order it, we want these spaces to survive because the world is not a fun place to live in when there's no magic stores to go to anymore. There's no place to buy candles or books or even have community. So please get my book at a metaphysical store if you want to. It's Fearless Tarot or Tarot in Love. And the tarot deck, just stay in tune to my social media. You can follow me at Elliot Oracle on YouTube or on Instagram here. My YouTube channel has been growing a lot more recently, and I'll have lots about the tarot deck and its release date as we get closer to it.
Oh my gosh. Also, too, you're absolutely right. Here's another thing that we completely agree. I'm like, if you want, like, I feel like when we spend our money, we can spend our money in ways that are feeding billionaires, or we can spend our money in ways that are feeding little mom and pop shops, right?
Yes, yes.
So when you order a book, like you can order a book and that's going to help the author and the publisher and you get a great book. Great, order it anywhere.
Yeah.
But like, how do we make that dollar go, or that pound go
Yes, yes.
further, right? Um, so when we order from the metaphysical shop, not only do we get a good book, and not a great book, not only do we help the author and the publisher, so that is all good in the ecosystem, but we also help that shop.
Yeah.
And you actually help the author more by doing that. And I'll tell you why. Because I know from having a shop that if somebody requests a book from me, I won't buy one copy for them. I'll buy one for them. And if it
Wow.
looks like something that we sell, I'll buy one or two for the shop. So now you've sold 3 books by your
Wow.
one special order. So that's
Yes.
100% like you're having greater impact by doing that with a mom and pop shop, because they will likely buy that book and then someone else can find that book in their shop, which is
Absolutely.
like great for everybody. So
It sure is.
yeah.
What a great perspective. I'm glad you shared that.
Oh my gosh, because we're twins. I think we
Yeah.
should just like get on with it and just say that we're twins.
Let's do it. Oh my God, you're such a fairy lady. I love you.
I want to remind everybody that if you, we have in like a week, we have my class coming up, my full moon workshop. Normally my full moon workshops, well, they are $40. You can buy it for $40. It's going to be Intro to Animal Familiar Magic. But if you would like to get that workshop for free, all you have to do is pre-order my book for $17. You'll get the book, you'll get the workshop, and you'll get all the additional bonuses that we're having going. We're going to be having 4 or 5 bonuses, 5 bonuses going over the next coming weeks as we promote this book coming coming out, you'll get all of them. It'll be like a prize package. You will like for pre-ordering a book, you get a whole prize package, and all you have to do is go to animalfamiliars.com. We have the links and the places that you can order, but you can order from your mom and pop. Just let us know where you ordered it, and then you'll be in for that class on the 13th. So I hope we'll see you there. And if you're a late person in the UK who can't get up at 3 in the morning, and I don't blame you, the class is going to be recorded, and you'll get that recording.
Oh,
So it's a live Zoom
excellent.
workshop, but we always make a recording so that you can have that recording and you can watch it at your convenience,
Oh,
while
that's
you're going on your
wonderful.
walk, you can
That's
listen, or,
right.
doing whatever, going out and hanging out with the owls, you can listen. So yeah, yeah.
I love it.
I have
Well,
been
my
looking,
friend,
oh
thank
my gosh.
you.
Of course, I've been looking forward to this interview because why? Because I just want to talk to you and I want to see how you're doing. And
Oh, and
that's,
I wanted to just check in, and even if you didn't go on today, I'm so shocked you did. I was so worried about you, and
yeah,
I'm glad you're safe, and I'm wishing protection on you
thank
and safety
you.
for all the people you love for sure.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think, it's weird. It's a little bit scary, but we're also feeling like there's lots of good communication and we have
Hmm.
places to go.
Yes.
And so all of our things are lined up for
Good.
us to be, to survive and do well in all of this. And we do have such a heart for everyone, and for the first responders, of course, that have been working
Oh
so
my
hard and so
God, yeah.
overwhelmed with
And
all of
doing a
this.
hell of a job too, I have to say. I
Oh
mean,
my
this is the
gosh.
biggest fire, and the way they're doing it, as far as I'm watching on
Yeah.
the news, they are really just excellent
They're
right now.
they're
So,
working as well as they can under the circumstances, which are
yes.
working completely against them, and we're so grateful to them. And people, firefighters coming from all over, not even
Mm,
from Arizona, from Nevada, from Oregon. We have Northern California. We have firefighters coming from all over, and all of them working together to help save people, which is the most important thing. We've had only
yes.
2 reported deaths on
Yeah.
these very big, devastating fires. So it's sad that we lost anybody, but it's like, listen to those evacuation orders, get out
Yes.
when they
Yes.
ask you to evacuate is so important. So yeah, but
Well,
anyway, so thank you so much for
protection
being
on
here.
you. Be
Thank,
safe, my darling, and
thank you.
we will connect under more lighter circumstances, I'm sure, in the future.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. All right. Sending you all the love.
You too, my dear.
All right.
Bye.
We'll talk soon. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye, honey.